I'm on the road to recovery in Castle Rock, Colorado. Live from Millville, New Jersey, I'm on the road to recovery. We're on the road to recovery in Morgantown, West Virginia at Mountaineer Field. And live in Scranton, Pennsylvania, I'm on the road to recovery. Here I am on the road to recovery from Berlin, Maryland. Hey, from Caseville, Michigan, I'm on the road to recovery. I'm on the road to recovery at Ann Arbor, University of Michigan. On the road to recovery up here in New Hampshire, and I was able to spend some time with an amazing woman, Cheryl Juaire. Sean Merrill's mom, a lot of times people probably refer to her as Sean Merrill's mom, but she is not only Sean's mom, Corey's mom, she is an advocate in her own right because of what's happened in her life with her sons. She's embraced this mission, this issue. The club that she unfortunately happens to be a member of, the moms across the country, dads across the country, families across the country who've lost their loved ones to addiction. And Cheryl decided to take this issue by the throat and really make a difference. Throughout all of New England, across the country, Cheryl is making that difference, and this is her story.
My name is Cheryl Juaire. Back in 2010, I moved to Florida to help my mother run an assisted living facility. At the time, well, I had 3 boys, and they were all grown, and they were on their own. My oldest son was a police officer. My middle son was married, and my youngest son, Corey, had struggles. I knew he was doing drugs. I didn't know the level of the drugs he was doing, but I didn't understand addiction at that time either. I knew he was going to meetings and things like that, but I just didn't get it. So I moved down to Florida in 2010 and left the 3 boys behind. At the time, I didn't know about Sean's addiction as well. I know he was drinking a lot. I do know that, but I went to Florida. About July 2010, my husband and I found a church down there, and we became Christians. It was amazing. The best thing that could have ever happened to us. It was at Destiny Community Church in Florida, and we were on fire. Around February, Corey had called me once again, and he was having issues. He had a newborn baby. He didn't know how to deal with it. And so I said, you know what, Corey, come on down to Florida. I'll pay for your ticket. Take a week down here. He was on probation at the time, so he had to jump through hoops to get permission to leave out of state, which he did. And he was scheduled to fly down on February 23rd. I talked to him on February 22nd, and he was all excited. So on February 23rd, I was calling him to make sure he had a ride to the airport, and there was no answer. And I kept calling and leaving voicemails. My oldest son is a police officer, and so I called him and I said, I can't find Corey. Can you please do something? And so he called the Arlington Police Department, who went over to do a wellness check, and they found him dead of an overdose on February 24th, 2011. I called my pastor right away. That was the first thing I did. And I said, why? I don't understand. I knew, I didn't, where is he? Is he in heaven? I mean, I had so many questions for my pastor, and he sat with me for hours, talked to me for hours. The next day I flew back to Massachusetts and I buried my son. And I was only there for 5 days because I had a business that I had to get back to. So we drove back down to Florida. We didn't fly. I just need some time to reflect. So I went back to Florida. While in Florida, I grieved, and I grieved, and I grieved, and I grieved alone. Because in my church, even though they were wonderful people, nobody had ever lost a child before, so they didn't know how to deal with me. They didn't talk about it because they didn't know what to say. Because I don't know whether it was going to be contagious or, they didn't want to hurt me or anything, so nobody talked about it. So for 2.5 years, while in Florida, I suffered alone. And during that time, my middle son, Sean, moved down to Florida, and he was active in addiction. And I almost lost him as well. And I just screamed up to God, and I said, God, I can't do this. I can't lose another son. I just can't do it. So Sean ended up coming back to Massachusetts and got into treatment. Fast forward 2.5 years, I moved back up to Massachusetts, right around the same time that Sean did, and he got into treatment at Teen Challenge. When I got back here in Massachusetts, I got some grief counseling, finally, and didn't realize how much of a mess I really was in my grief. So I got the grief counseling, and then I heard of I belonged to a couple of Facebook groups, and I heard of a rally going on in 2015 in Washington, the Fed Up rally, and I decided to get involved. While there, I met a couple of other moms from Massachusetts who went to the rally as well. And when I got home, I was like, I have never seen any other group like this for moms who have lost a child to an overdose addiction. So I created a Facebook group with just 10 moms. And I learned through grief that our biggest complaint is that over time people forget our child. They forget to talk about them. Family do. They forget their dates of birth. They forget their dates of death. So I said, you know what? In this group, we're not going to forget that. Today we have almost 400 members in Massachusetts alone of moms and dads, just parents, who have lost a child. It's to get them in the door initially, and then God does the rest. So I've got to talk to them, and just tell them, you can learn all that while you're in there, but I can only walk you so far. But my faith and Sean's faith should tell you something. And when you go, I love when I watch Teen Challenge do their choirs. The people in the churches they cry, they feel, because there's just so much love there for those people. And God, without a shadow of a doubt, has blessed Teen Challenge beyond, and I believe he's used Sean to do a lot of that.
Cheryl, thank you so much. I'm so grateful to have spent this time with you and learn a little bit more about what you're doing and why you do what you do. Sean is an amazing young man, your son, my brother, and I feel like you're almost like an adopted mom to me, even though you're younger than me. And anyway, you know what I mean. It's like we're family, and in this recovery movement, that's what we all gotta look to each other as, family. No more silos and no more separating our mission, coming together, joining hands to save lives. That's what Cheryl's doing. She's an inspiration to us all. Thank you so much for joining us from New Hampshire via Taunton, Massachusetts. We're on the road to recovery. We'll see you on the next episode.